headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
I did The Word for 2 years, which is a kind of post-pub entertainment music show.
This is what Channel 4 was about. Not quite like that now, but particularly when it launched in 1982.
That's right.
Under Margaret Thatcher.
So 40 years ago this year.
An alternative to what
it
you
was.
And I'm glad you mentioned Margaret Thatcher, again, without politics. The only reason we got Channel 4, which became regarded by like the Daily Mail as a hotbed of pornography and left-wing views, was
how I saw it as a kid.
purely down to Margaret Thatcher and Willie Whitelaw fighting for it. Because the BBC and the ITV didn't want to break the duopoly. And they said, no, we've got to have a rival, and it'll be run... They never made their own programmes.
So she could have done that as a dig to the BBC, who she pretty much
I think she just believed in the free market. She wanted to free up television and ITV, and she said, look, the market should decide. Now, the downside of that is the market can be very brutal, and we've seen that with jobs going, but that didn't happen in television. It led to an explosion in production companies. I mean, there are all kinds of people, like me, I'd never been on telly, if not to mixed blessing there for viewers.
It launched so many. Chris Evans.
What went wrong with it?
Chris Evans, Jonathan Ross.
I think one of the problems is it's what happened to the Comedy Awards, I think, and Jonathan, my brother, used to present that on ITV.
Yes, I remember.
Now, Channel 4 were brilliant for giving people like Paul Merton their first break, Clive Anderson their first break.
Comedy show
but
at 9
in the
o'clock.
end, they became the Terry Wogans of our generation because they were around for so long. You can't, if your channel's only about introducing the new, and then things like MTV happened, and MTV introduced the world to, he doesn't do comedy now, but to the likes of Russell Brand. So we went to different places, and now, of course, it was a revelation when it was another TV channel to choose from, and their slogan when I did it was TV to talk about. So you had to get in, for the word, I had to get in the papers on a Sunday morning. It had to be in the Sunday, some outrageous or disgusting or a big revelation for people.
But it's changed. That's not the case now.
No.
I really feel watching Channel 4 now.
It's gone mainstream.
It's
I think
part of the establishment, and I think Big Brother was to blame to that. It got so huge, and they had to live up to that. And the only way to live up to that.
I think what happened with Big Brother is, and there's a documentary on this week about poor Nikki Graham, who was a Big Brother star,
indeed.
and then
I've interviewed her.
Jade Goody as well, wasn't it?
But then what happened was they went from being. I mean, the first one was regarded as a social experiment. I think Anna was on it, the nun, and I think the carpenter chap Craig won it.
Who won? Yes, here we go.
But then, of course, after that, they suddenly realised we have to get bigger and bolder and better and cast people who are basically...
Get more people like Nasty Nick.
Delusional, or people who are difficult, or people who would, when they had a drink, become demons. And that's the way, I think, that way kind of tabloid madness, absolutely. Because there's... I mean, to be pretentious, in the preface to the lyrical ballads, Wordsworth and Coleridge wrote, they were writing about anti-Gothic poetry. And they said the trouble with Gothic poetry is like the trouble with pornography and shock television. You've got to keep getting more and more extreme. So it's only about the shock, and that's what happened with Big Brother. It got too much about the shock, and then Channel 5 tried to reinvent it. But I think in some ways, I mean, maybe it's an idea as time has come, because while it kind of generates advertising revenue, it seems kind of archaic, 40 years on, that we've still got this kind of sort of independent TV company, answerable to no one.
So you don't think, you think Channel 4 should be privatised?
Well, I kind of think there's so much... I mean, for me, the future has got to be, it's online. People making their own TV shows.
You say, OK, so I read Michael Grade's autobiography a couple of years ago. He obviously was the head of Channel 4 for a little bit. He really
had been the head of LWT and the BBC.
Head of Ofcom
BBC
now.
One. He's trying to be Director General. It never happened. I think, he went to Burt. John Burt.
Who followed him at London Weekend Television.
Yes,
and then
indeed.
Later on, of course, another LWT head, the man who gave me my first job in television, Greg Dyke, took over.
Yes, indeed. So here we go. Michael Grade. John Burt was Michael Grade's second in command. However, John Burt went in to be Director General at the BBC. Michael Grade was kind of affronted by that because he wanted it.
Well, Michael Grade had no real journalistic background, and the BBC were going through a time when they had to be seen to be much more objective, and John Burt had created a show called Weekend World.
And did Foss Nixton.
That's
one of the producers
in early days, that kind of show, but he'd come from that background, whereas Michael Grade was regarded as son of Blue Grade, much more kind of shiny floor television, showbiz sparkle.
Like light entertainment kind of guy. But anyway, since Michael Grade, he was boss, I want to say, in the 90s onwards, early 90s onwards, the fight to stop Channel 4 becoming privatised. And that would have been at a time, even back then, obviously, this would have been a time where Channel 4 was doing the thing it was supposed to do. So now, to privatise it, when it is... I
mean, the trouble with it is, I think... it's like, an awful lot of television, an awful lot of radio is just there as kind of candy floss for the ears or candy floss for the eyes. We remember the great Channel 4 shows, 95% of it was mediocre rubbish, and that includes stuff I've worked on.
Well, Countdown was the very first show, wasn't it?
Countdown was the first show. And the things they didn't get right. On the very first night, they showed a great show about a man who had kind of mental challenges called Walter, starring that great actor Sir Ian McKellen. It was never repeated, as far as I know, because they didn't get the contracts right, and they didn't do the legals on it. So in that way, it kind of was slightly ramshackle and amateurish centrish when it started. As it's got more efficient, it's become more conservative and duller, to be honest.
So I have to say, I went to the RTS Awards.
Don't you point that finger at me? You've had that all night, have you?
Yeah, I have. I'm glad you're taking a bit now.
I'm a finger pointer.
I hope that palm isn't loaded.
Paul. So I went to the RTS Awards last week, hands now.
No, you've gone Jewish. What's going on here? Hey?
That's my influence.
Right, I'm sitting on my hands. I'm sitting on my hands, okay? Is this all right? Yeah? Okay. So I went to the RTS Awards last week and Channel 4 sweeped most of the awards. Russell T Davies got the awards for It's a Sin, had the big breakfast, they got an award for that. He had...
the Mo Gilligan reinvention, that one.
Here we go, with an AJ Adudu. Lady Parts, is it the great Channel 4 show about Muslim women creating a girl band, a rock band, if you like, and it did so well. And so, if anything, I really thought that was a sign that whenever Channel 4 is supposed to be doing it, they are getting it right with audiences and indeed those within the industry.
What they haven't done for a while is what the BBC did with things like The Office, create something that can be sold globally. Yeah. And that's maybe because they're a bit parochial. Whereas if money comes in from outside, they'll still take chance on new talent. I think they'll get to the YouTubers and the TikTokers before the BBC, and I think that's the future springboard for any success in telly.
Has Channel 5 taken a bit of their mantle off them?
I think Channel 5's gone for the Crumbly audience, like me and James Whale.
Yeah.
With respect. I think they've gone for Cat Canal documentaries, stuff about the royal family, stuff about World War II. You know, my missus says to me when I got the television, "What are you watching, Sharks or Nazis?" It's always either World War II.
That's gone now. The Sharks and Nazis channel doesn't do that anymore.
All right.
Good talk. Hot talk.
Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.